as a leader, my job is not to tell you what to think. It's wanting to assist you with that. We want people who want to advance because as they grow, the people they're in charge of, our student athletes, they should grow. When you're dealing with change, to embrace the change, not and being okay with that ambiguity.
Hey everybody, this is Pat Cohan with the THSADA, and for this Director's Cut episode, we're sitting down with Dr. Lisa Langston. With 36 years in education, all within Fort Worth ISD, and a doctorate in professional development, Dr. Langston brings a career's worth of perspective on what it actually takes to grow leaders, not just train them. A former professional basketball player in Germany and past president for the NIAAA, she's one that's carried the Texas perspective to a national stage. In this conversation, we'll discuss how adults actually learn and why it's different from kids, how to mentor and develop future athletic administrators at scale, and what athletic leaders can offer and learn on a national stage, and how she stays intentional about her personal professional development even after 36 years in the game. Before we dive into this conversation, we do want to thank our partner in this episode, and that's Certos Sports, home to trusted brands like Vices, Shut Sports, and Tucci. One of the featured products this fall is the Shut F7 Air, featuring an integrated airlock system, giving athletes the ability to adjust their helmet fit on the fly without a handheld pump. Thank you, Certos Sports, for supporting THSADA and education-based athletics across Texas. Thanks so much for joining us, and we hope you enjoy this THSADA Director's Cut. One thing I remember from an interview I did back in 2018 with you, maybe 2019, it was about your PhD is in professional development.
My dissertation was
Your
about...
dissertation was in professional
so you're
development.
Right. Mm-hmm.
One of the most interesting things about our discussion was how adults really actually professionally develop. Wow. There's something unique about that process. Mm-hmm. It's not like school kids.
It's true.
Break that down for me.
True. You know, you say that, and one thing that I think about is when you think about adults and their learning, what it is the perception of what the adult think that they need. And so therefore, when you're talking about like a conference where there's a lot of different options as far as what workshops are available, it is really gearing towards that adult because they get to select what they want to take. And that's different than a school setting where it's dictated these are the courses you have to take and things of that nature. So that's one, I would say that is probably the biggest difference between adult education and children.
They will not learn unless they choose it.
That's pretty much, yes.
How do leaders help guide aspiring athletic administrators, head coaches, what have you, to want to learn the not sexy stuff?
Wow, that's a great question. And I would think that to help someone learn the not sexy stuff, if you say, is look at, you're trying to build capacity. And so when you're looking at it, because you want people to reflect. And so oftentimes you start with, what is it that you think that you need, okay? To grow, to advance to wherever it is that you want to go. And then they give you their perspective. And then as a leader, you start talking about, well, here are the skills for wherever it is that they're trying to go, and have them reflect on it. Because I can tell you, reflection is an informal learning tool. So you can come to a conference, you can get the knowledge, okay? But if you don't go back and reflect on the knowledge, you've only gotten the knowledge. You haven't really internalized it. And so therefore you won't really use it. It's just something you're holding on to. But really and truly, what you're wanting, in my opinion, is get that knowledge and then figure out, as you reflect on it, how can I take it back and make it benefit others?
And sometimes, as a younger person, you're so busy, and the next thing, you're a performer, right? Like you go home, you got to perform for your young kids. You go to school, you perform. There's no reflection. It's adrenaline that's kind of riding a lot of those things, or fear of failure. It's driving those things. And so as a leader, what I'm hearing is giving the venue for reflection in that conversation that you kind of simulated there.
Yes. And I think as a leader, we talk about relationships and how important it is. That's one of the things that for me is a joy of my job, is getting to know my people. And and where they know that they can come to me and we can have a discussion. So, sometimes the reflection is the self-reflection, but also is having a conversation with someone and having whatever their thought, where I'm just listening. I'm not there to fix or do anything like that. It's more just, unless they ask, okay, what do you think? This is what my thoughts are. Then I might interject. But really and truly, as a leader, my job is not to tell you what to think. It's wanting to assist you with that process. I might say, well, have you thought about this? But not, which is different than saying you need to do that.
Right.
And so have you thought about, your communication skills? How do you think it come across? What is your tone like?
Phenomenal. I
Yeah.
think I'm no. But how do you do that at scale?
Ooh, and that's a great question, especially because I'm in a large district. And so for me, I have to be very intentional about it. And so one of the things that I try, I just heard Jennifer Frazier talk about stage of life decisions. And where I am in my career, I feel like I'm placed to live out my purpose. It is to impact people beyond just the boundaries of where my job is. And so I seek out opportunities to be a mentor to others. And I think there are people who look at me and say, hey, she's a great mentor, and will give people my phone number and say, call Dr. Langston. She's, know. And so again, it's been intentional. I ask, okay, who wants my job? So that I can work with them or see how I can help them.
But what's creative about, or what's genius about that is immediately you're filtering the people that want that end goal. So like we talked about earlier, adults don't professionally develop unless they want to or want that information.
Correct.
So you've kind of filtered down, like, obviously I want to get paid more. Obviously I want those things. If you did that, then everybody's going to come on that boat.
Right.
But for your job, you've kind of pared it down.
Exactly. Because I want the people who, well, first of all, you want people who want to advance, because as they grow, the people they're in charge of, our student athletes, they should grow.
Yeah.
It's
that's
a
the role.
Yeah, exactly. Because people should see you improving. And sometimes it's really, there's a little nuance in it might be in how you communicate. Whereas you used to be over the top, but now you've learned how to scale it back and so that people can actually hear you. They saw you first because of your actions, where they were turned off to even listening to the message. But now as you've grown, they can actually hear you, and then take your word as a leader, and then you're able to influence them in that way.
How are you personally trying to professional develop right now?
Oh, I'm here.
Yeah.
This is, I am just completing year 36 in education, all in the same district. And one of the things that I know, I heard someone tell me one time, well, you've only had one train of thought because you've been in that one district. But really that is not the case. I've been blessed to be in Fort Worth and haven't had a reason to leave because they've been good to me. But while I've been there, I haven't been growing myself outside to have a perspective beyond just Fort Worth ISD. And I think part of that's because, I played professional ball in Germany.
You got enough perspective.
And so that allowed me to appreciate a global view.
And you're president of NIAAA, and you're super involved in a lot of other things. So
yes,
I don't agree with that statement that you're not there. But I do want to bring up a point that I heard recently that I think would be interesting to discuss with you. Somebody said people live the same year 30 years in a row. And in the school system, I'm married to a coach. And I am starting to see our life as a cycle. And it's like, oh, we're in this time. And we're doing that again. And then it clicks. And I'm like, oh, this is the next 30 days. I understand. Like, it's a weird seasonality. And so back to the personal professional development, how are you trying to make this year different than the previous 32?
Okay, I think what it is each year as I conclude a year, I start thinking about what area do I want to grow in?
You sit down and do this. This is like an intentional process.
This is intentional.
And when do you do this?
As I'm reflecting on
But is
perhaps
it on your calendar like, hey, I'm going to do this on May 17th every year?
no, it's not like
It's
that.
like an
but
ongoing, and
because
then
it's the end of a school year,
and the school year's like a nice divide. Like
exactly.
yeah, okay.
As I prepare to go into the next year, as I have this summer, and with our conference being in June, it's the ideal
perfect.
time.
It's
Yes,
perfect.
because now I'm here and I'm listening to different workshops and different speakers, and so I can kind of hone in on, okay, what is it that I want to work on? And I can tell you I was just had this conversation with someone. I was telling them how when I was earlier in my leadership as a director, one of the things is I wanted to be more courageous because I wanted to go into a meeting and be able to speak up and not sit back and know when I had something to add to the conversation. One year was I wanted to embrace. Like I can tell you, like this year, I'm looking at, and I love the word embrace. That was my
Yeah.
theme as the NIAAA president. But I love that word because it's very forward thinking, and it also allows you that when you're dealing with change, to embrace the change, not and being okay with that ambiguity. Because I'm in a district. We just got a new superintendent, and so how we operated last year, it might look very differently this year.
Yeah.
But whatever it is that the superintendent lies out for the goal and the aims and the vision and the mission, I think our task is, and my task specifically for myself, is to look at it and see how we can implement what it is that the superintendent is trying to accomplish for the district, and have our athletics align with that.
Are you the assistant to the superintendent, or are you your own island?
Well, I think in a large world, we can't be our own island because athletics does not operate in a vacuum. We have to be an integral part of the process.
Right.
But
it's like an assistant coach. Like some people say, assistant coach. Should an assistant coach be an assistant to the head coach, or an assistant coach which has its own roles?
Okay, I understand what you're saying. That question. You want an assistant coach who might want to be a head coach. I mean, like we'll say I'm a basketball coach. I'm the head basketball coach. I have two assistants. One of my assistants wants to be a head coach, and one might be content with being number two because there's value in that. But that one that wants to be the head coach, I'm going to give them some responsibilities that's going to grow them.
So you don't require that at the beginning? Because here's where I'm getting, and I know this is a weird question, but I think that a lot of positions, especially assistant AD position, are they assistant AD over something, or are they assistant to the AD, where they are basically their job is to make their AD look as good as possible and cover as much stuff?
Okay. So in our structure, there's an executive director, and I'm the director, and then we have 4 assistants.
Yeah.
Okay. So my role is at the responsibilities that are assigned to me by the executive director.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that's the structure.
Yeah.
However, there is some autonomy in my position to do certain things. Like I'll give you an example. A few years back, we started a coaches academy because the executive director, he's looking at different aspects other than just our coaches.
Yeah,
He has to look at facilities and again, whatever his direct supervisor has put on his plate. And so my job also, like you said, is to assist that executive director in making all our athletic programs successful. But I do want to help the executive director be as successful as possible, because he's the one that's going to get the outline of what it is, the expectations that are laid out for athletic programming. And so my job is to look where my area of expertise is and assist him as best that I can, knowing that if I do a great job of whatever he's outlined for me, that I'm going to assist him in the process. And then in the long run, our student athletes are going to benefit from it.
As somebody with such a national exposure as an NIAAA president and everything you've done across the country and in Germany as a professional basketball player, what perspective do you want to share with Texas athletic directors that maybe they need to be a little bit more open to?
Well, be open to the fact that Texas, we have great leaders here.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I say is be open to taking that value to people on a national level. Is because it's
Instead
a
of
two-way.
taking it away to
Yes,
go out.
yes, and give you a great example. Leslie Slovak. She got the opportunity to do a presentation on a national level, and I think she was shocked by the number of people after she finished speaking that came up to her from different parts of the
Right.
U.S. where, again, she's adding value. And so that's where it is. It's a two-way thing where
Yeah.
you can go and get that national perspective, but they also get the perspective because there's a lot of things that we do in Texas that other states can't do directly because, like having athletic peers. But it might be some things within what we do in our athletic peers that might be beneficial to an athletic administrator in a
And or
different
just
state.
educate people on how well Texas has structured high school sports and get that message out there more,
Yes.
because there's high school athletics is under attack in a lot of states.
Yes, it is.
I mean, it's not this celebration of high school sports like it
that's
is
true.
here in Texas.
That's
It
true.
is, hey, we need to keep this, like, we are getting under attack and we need to fight back. Like,
Yeah. Yes.
we're not feeling that here in Texas.
No, not to the degree. Like I have a friend in North Carolina,
Yeah.
and I'm looking what's been legislated by the state, and their UIL right now is under attack, their version, and so one of the things I would say is I'm very thankful and grateful to be in Texas and for us the way we operate and just such a deep appreciation what our state has done and is doing for interscholastic athletics, and never taking that for granted. Because I tell people other states have non-faculty or off-campus coaches, and I said, well, those states at one time probably all had teacher coaches, but as there became a shortage, someone said, well, let's allow this person in the community, and then you just open the floodgates. Well, and here in Texas, that's something that we really want to protect, which also leads to the fact that we need to put an emphasis on training, and not just training, because training is kind of like an event, but more so like building that capacity, which coming to a state conference, allows you to build your capacity